Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is March 1st, 2023. It's the start of March, Benny. And this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson, your co-host. I'm just getting myself together. I'm pushing buttons on my computer and getting things together. Okay, there we go. I'm back. Couldn't see myself. Um, we love the NFL. We love football in general, but we really love the NFL. And the great thing, or one of the great things about the NFL is it stays active 365 days of the year. So yeah, we've got content. We might have to search around a little bit harder than we do during the season, but we do have content. We got stuff to talk about. So I'm ready. Let's rock.
Content. Content, he says. Content. Yes, we have content. There's no doubt about it. It's just that we don't have that steady supply of scores that we can analyze. And without that, I was a bit discombobulated, I must admit. You know what I mean? So I went back and just to kind of get us on track, but continuing to move in the new direction, I took a look at something that we in the season when I was doing the net point rank. So Benny, as you can see, what we have here is we have the point differential, because we talked a number of times about those teams that were like such a large difference, not just and in terms of their offense and their defense ranking. So when we start to look at free agents and the draft and the new, in some of these cases, coordinators that are being brought on and or coaches, and what they're trying to do and what they're looking to fix, I think it's almost glaring. For example, if you're looking to necessarily fix, let's just look at this top five here, okay? Because the Jets had the largest ranking differential. And when we begin to talk about your favorite quarterback, Aaron Rodgers,
How come everybody you want to talk about is my favorite? I don't. Where do you get that from?
it's called messing with you. Aaron Rodgers, it's good to see just where they stood points wise, okay? Because what we're talking about is the ranking differential between the offensive scoring and the defensive points allowed. And those teams that were in the playoffs and those teams that went to the Super Bowl had small ranking differentials in the top quartile. We break the 32 teams down into groups of 8, one-fourth groupings. So the quartiles there, and you have 4 of them. So some teams are in the top quartile, some teams are in the bottom, but these teams are in the top and the bottom. And that's what makes them intriguing. And it's like, okay, what are you going to do? So your New York Jets, Ben, 29th ranked offense, 2nd ranked defense. Okay, that's a 27 ranking differential. The Detroit Lions, 5th offensively, 28th defensively. The Minnesota Vikings, they have a ranking differential of 22. They are 8th offensively and 30th defensively. The Denver Broncos were 32nd, that's last offensively, but 13th defensively. And we thought we saw a slide in their defense where the offense basically were pulling them down because they were ranking higher than 13. And then Seattle, with a ranking differential of 15, offensively ranked 10th and defensively ranked 25th. So when you see this, what pops into your mind, and again, if you want to wait and just use this later as we talk about things like the draft and or free agency, we can do that. But I just wanted to sort of add some perspective for at least these teams. There are a number of teams where they're, offensively and defensively, and they're in the last, the fourth quartile. They're already down there. That they're a whole different mess. But these
So
teams have one side of the ball figured out, it seems to me.
well, I mean, we're getting ready to go into a new year. We got combine coming up this weekend. We got a draft in a little while. So I don't know if anybody feels like they have it completely figured out on any side of the ball. You're always looking to try to improve. But obviously, the difference in the rankings of these teams offensively and defensively are really, there's a huge disparity. That's the right word, right? Disparity.
Yeah, there you go.
And that it's huge to the point of being glaring. Especially the Jets and the Lions. But most astoundingly to me, the Minnesota Vikings being a playoff team and being able to be a playoff team with such a big disparity in number 8 offense and a number 30 defense. Obviously, Denver being last offensively, there was no way that they were going to survive and even think about the postseason. And you're right. Defensively, there was a point where they were sitting at number 1 and number 2 defensively. And it got so bad offensively that even affected their defense. So, yeah, there's something to be said for each one of these teams. Seattle actually made the playoffs too. I don't want to leave them out. They kind of just got in. But the disparity, of course, obviously is not as large. Offensively, they were number 10. Defensively, they were 25th. 25th is pretty bad, but Geno Smith and a really good running game pulled them through and got them into the playoffs. They didn't survive, but they did survive this huge ranking differential. So good for them. We do need to hold on to this when we start looking at the draft and see if teams actually started to address at least this particular side of the ball where we see the red numbers.
Well, Ben, one of the things that I forget whether we like them or don't like them are the mock draft things. And this isn't exactly a mock draft, but what I did do was I went to Bucky Brooks. And I like Bucky Brooks, and I especially like Bucky Brooks because he's always involved with the HBCUs and he's working with those kids, and he's a busy guy. He don't look like he's busy when he's on there, but he's a busy guy. And anyway, so this is what Bucky said relative to these teams, which I'm just going to take that for right now for what it's worth. All right. Relative to the Jets, right? He said if the Jets take care of their offensive line needs in free agency, the team could add another disruptive interior defender to play beside Quentin Williams at the point of attack. He suggests Brian Brees from Clemson, a D tackle who's a sophomore. So he's talking about the defense there. And again, he never mentioned offense here except for the line.
He did. Yeah.
The line.
Right.
Yeah, he did talk about the line. So he didn't talk about the quarterback, I guess, is what I'm saying. So any thoughts on Bucky Brooks as far as the Jets are concerned?
Well, like I said, nobody's feels like they've got it completely figured out unless they win a Super Bowl. So obviously, as good as the defense was, he's saying, guess what? If you can find another good guy in the draft that you can plug and play, you can make a really good defense even better. So nobody's ever satisfied. But he did mention that they need probably, in my estimation, almost a complete overhaul of their offensive line. He didn't want to probably go into depth about all the needs on offense, and the quarterback need on offense is pretty obvious. So if he's speaking about the upcoming draft, of course, he's going to talk about things that that he knows for sure. And what he knows for sure is there's a defensive lineman that can maybe put that defense over the top. And then they've got so many needs on offense. You know, he'd be talking all day about that,
All
which
right.
somewhere along the line he will.
All right. Let's move to Detroit real quick. Again, ranking differential of 23, offense ranked 5th, defense ranked 28th. Bucky said adding another young pass rusher to a unit that already features Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston could put the 2023 Lions over the top and into the playoffs. He suggests Miles Murphy from Clemson, an edge rusher, junior. He said, and this ultra-competitive corner is the sticky man-to-man defenders the Lions needs to match up with playmakers within their division. He's suggesting a Devin Witherspoon, Illinois cornerback senior. So he's definitely talking about that defense. And so I think he's right on it relative to the points. Let's see here. As far as Minnesota is concerned, they have a ding, ding, ding. Brian Flores, new defensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. Wants to bring pressure, but needs a solid set of corners with the capacity to hold their own in coverage. Forbes is a ball hawk with exceptional eyes, instincts, and skills, suggests Emmanuel Forbes, Mississippi State cornerback. He's a junior. So that's what he has. So he's defense. They went coordinator, and he mentioned coordinator, and he mentioned a player suggestion. Anything on Minnesota there?
No, Bucky's going with their weaknesses, obviously. Both these teams are ranked very low defensively. He's saying that they need to immediately take note and go after some players that can improve their defense in the draft. We'll talk about free agency later also. There's going to be some veteran players that are out there that are going to be freed up that teams are going to be looking at. But with the draft coming up pretty soon, there's some good young talent out there, and he's starting to look at it and decide who fits where and where they're needed. And Detroit and Minnesota are both going to need good defenders. He talks about an edge rusher. He talks about corners. He talks about Flores because Flores runs a really aggressive defense. They blitz a lot. They get after the quarterback. That's the kind of defense he likes. If you're going to have that kind of defense, you have to have solid corners that can play man-to-man. So he's looking at guys that will fit Flores' defense. That's good.
Now, Ben, remember when we were looking at the draft and you kept saying, there's only 31 here?
There's only 31 first-round picks.
And you know why?
Somebody lost a pick?
Denver.
Right.
Gave up. They have no first-round picks with all the
There
trade.
you go. There you go.
Especially with them bringing on the new head coach.
Right.
From the Saints. He came
that
along.
Cost them.
Yeah.
Compensation.
Yeah. And it's funny to see a coach cost draft picks. I still think that's a little weird.
It happened before. It happened back when Gruden left the Raiders and went to Tampa Bay.
Okay. Yeah, it just seems a little weird to me. So that's offensively, they got a new coordinator, right?
I'm sorry.
Did Denver get a new offensive coordinator?
Oh, Denver? Yeah. Because Hackett's with the Jets now.
Joe Lombardi reunites with Sean Payton as the new Broncos offensive coordinator.
Okay. If I'm not mistaken, though, Payton likes to call his own plays. But we'll see.
So, well, then if that's the way they work, at least he knows how it works. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right. And then Seattle, Bucky Brooks says Pete Carroll needs to add a dynamic pass rusher to help the Seahawks defense. reemerge as a premier unit, suggests Tyree Wilson, Texas Tech edge rusher, senior, with Ringo joining Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant to handle the perimeter. Seattle secondary has young pieces to become a true strength, like the Legion of Boom unit that anchored 2 Super Bowl runs. Just Kylie Ringo from Georgia, cornerback. Kaylee, K-E-L-E-E. Kelly or Kali?
K-E-L-L.
No, K-E-L-E-E. Last name Ringo. So anyway, that's what Bucky Brooks says for our team with the greatest ranking differential. We'll keep this aside for further conversation at a later point. Wanted to bring up something that I thought that I still think it's hilarious. I actually think that my Niners should keep Garoppolo, should keep the 3 quarterbacks that we have.
Are we going to do this again?
I'm going to give you some numbers that I think are hilarious. All right. First of all, we did go to the conference championship with this group of quarterbacks, right?
Go ahead.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure we have, an agreement here, that this is a team that isn't necessarily quarterback dependent, like greatly. Like the system really makes the quarterback's job so easy that you can put a guy in there like a Purdy or a Garoppolo that you would say they're not exactly. Wait a minute, they're not considered. None of these guys are considered the top 5 quarterbacks in the league, but yet you go to the conference championship with them because I believe the team concept is that strong. So when I looked at it and I said, well, it seems to me that contract-wise, we're in a sweet spot with this group, okay? Purdy, yes, he's going to have his surgery. But there's word coming out that when he took the intelligence test that the NFL gives you, he scored at what they call an elite level. So he's a quick guy, right? You got Trey Lance, who they're saying needs still maturity in some of those areas of processing and making decisions and stuff like that, and accuracy. But he's the biggest, strongest, fastest of any of the potentially 3 quarterbacks. And then you got Jimmy Garoppolo, okay, who fundamentally has gone to the championships with this team a number of times and still can operate this team at a pretty high level. Now we say, okay, he's prone to be injured. Well, that's why you have 3 quarterbacks, So I'm like, but how much would that cost us? So I looked at it and I realized those 3 quarterbacks, based on 2 of them have contracts in place already. We're talking Purdy and Lance. One doesn't have a contract, but based on his last contract, the 2022 contract that ended, Jimmy Garoppolo was paid $13.9 million, right? Lance is paid $9.3 million, and Brock was paid $800,000. If you add the 13 and the 9, what's that, 22? Add another 1, 24. Add another 1 for Purdy, rounded up to it's $25 million. That's half of the amount of money, less than half the amount of money that Aaron Rodgers is expected to make this year alone. He ain't been to the playoffs at all. So we could have 3 quarterbacks that are familiar with this system, that have been to the playoffs. The only one that hasn't really played in the playoffs, and I don't think he's played, is Trey Lance. But okay, we don't have to rush Trey Lance into anything but we can play him as much as we want. And it's going to cost less than half of what they're paying Rodgers, which means we got cap space to do things like fix that offensive line. We need a better, that's where the money has to go for my Niners. So I just think it's an advantageous position. And I'm not real happy the fact that they just kicked Garoppolo to the curb. At least they said they are. Excuse me. They kind of did that last year, and then they brought him back, you know. So, you know.
They only brought him back because he was there and they couldn't get rid of him.
Well, you know, I don't know if they need to get rid of him. But
they feel like they need to get rid of him.
3 quarterbacks for less than the half of the price of one, I just thought was hilarious in and of itself.
Yeah, that's nice to think about, but Garoppolo's out of here. They've already made up their minds he's gone, so he will be gone. Okay? Trey Lance, as far as I'm concerned, is Jordan Love. He's a bust.
You think Jordan Love is a bust?
I think Jordan Love is a bust.
Okay. All right.
And I think Trey Lance is also a bust.
Have you heard what the Packers have said recently about Jordan Love?
Same thing they said last year.
Which one?
He looks so good. Oh, his arm. Oh my God. Oh, yeah. They said the same thing last
year. They're lying. That's what somebody said, Ben, relative to the draft and free agency. They said everything that they say up to the point where they make those choices is lies. You can't believe one of it.
Right, because nobody wants anybody else to know what they're thinking.
And look, I always say that my Niners are about as covert as you can get. So that's all fine. But anyhow, we can get three quarterbacks for less than half the price, and if we can upgrade that line, we might actually keep these guys upright and healthy for a bit. So
they can do the same thing by releasing Garoppolo, trying to wait until Trey Lance's contract runs out and get the hell rid of him, and hope that Purdy comes out of his surgery okay, and then draft a quarterback in the 2nd or 3rd round and maybe get a steal. And you can still only put out the same amount of money.
I don't think that formula is going to take you back to a Super Bowl. I think you'd be better off with these 3 quarterbacks. If
you think Garoppolo's, you keep saying 3, and I don't even know why we're talking about this long, Barry. Trey Lance isn't going to take you around the block.
Well, that's your opinion. I think Trey Lance still has potential, and I don't consider him a bust. So that's one place. But again, with 3 quarterbacks, he can be what he is. He's not costing us a lot of money.
Neither is Jordan Love costing the Packers.
We've got 2 quarterbacks that are pretty much playoff tested, or potentially 2 quarterbacks, one Purdy, and then in my proposal, Garoppolo, which again, when you're making a run for this team is built to win now. And that's what I'm talking. I'm not talking about bringing in some rookie, some draft pick and expect that if Purdy goes down, he's going to take you to the Super Bowl. You know, I don't see that at all. So I'm just thinking, you know, how could we, you know, with what we had, get back there, because our defense is built for that right now. You know, they just re-signed. You like Ron Jennings, don't you? You like Jennings, the receiver, so they just re-signed him. But in any event, that's just my proposal. I understand what you're saying. Less than half of what Aaron Rodgers is.
I like Garoppolo. I never thought they should have tried to part ways with him from the beginning, but they've already made up their minds. They just couldn't pull the trigger because of the injury and him getting cleared so late. If he gotten cleared earlier, he'd have been gone. Now he should be fine and he'll be out of here. So that's a proposition that's pretty much not even worth talking about because he's not going to be there. They were going to go with Purdy, which Everybody's surprised. Nobody's more surprised than they are how well he played. Okay. So when you say we're lucky we got these three guys that all fit the system, and the system is so good that you're kind of downplaying Purdy. I think Purdy's better than even you think.
I'm not downplaying Purdy because I'm saying Purdy can take us all the way to the Super Bowl. So that ain't downplaying him at all.
But early on, you said it's the system. You didn't say it was him. You said it was the
I said
system.
it's a system that makes it that reduces your requirement to have a super duper quarterback.
Okay, but to get to a Super Bowl, you may not need a super duper quarterback, but you need a damn good one.
And that's what I think we got. I think Garoppolo.
Then you don't need Garoppolo. What do you need Garoppolo for?
Because you need three quarterbacks. That's what I'm saying.
You need three quarterbacks.
Right. We need three quarterbacks.
Okay. So why would you want to? You need three quarterbacks. Why?
Why?
Yes.
Because
they keep
it's
getting
a 19,
hurt.
20 game season that we're trying to get through. And historically, these guys, don't make it. Garoppolo don't make it.
So you're going to keep those same guys so they can take you through this again?
Well, number one, they don't necessarily, Purdy's injury was kind of a weird injury. But as I said to you also, one of the reasons I think that we've been having some problem with injuries in quarterback is because our line isn't that great.
There are far worse offensive lines in the league besides yours. Far worse.
None of those far worse offensive lines, are they competing for a Super Bowl right now?
No.
Right. So we're not talking about them. We're talking about we need a Super Bowl level offensive line, and we're kind of not there yet.
Okay. Is there an offensive line that goes sackless? No. No matter how good you are, quarterbacks get sacked. And you have three quarterbacks, at least two quarterbacks, that have a history of coming up lame when somebody breathes on them. And you want to keep those same guys and take yourself through that again another season? Why?
These quarterbacks have taken us to the Super Bowl, okay, or to the NFC Championship. That's why. They have shown the ability
good luck, bro.
to play at that level.
First of all, it's not going to happen. So I don't even know why we're talking about it.
We already said that everything these guys say is a lie, so you don't know what's going to happen. Anything's
not going to happen.
Possible.
It's not going to happen.
Anything is still possible. We could probably even get under, this is funny, get under Aaron Rodgers' total amount of money if we brought in, what's his name, Derek Carr.
Not going to happen.
Well, maybe
These
not.
These are all dreams. I don't know where you're getting this stuff, man.
Well, if you're talking about, potential cap space, anything's a possibility. You
can do it a whole lot easier and still improve your offensive line.
What? With your suggestion of putting our hands in the hands of a rookie?
I didn't say that.
Well, you said
I said you go with Purdy.
Get rid of the two guys and then bring in a draftee. That's a rookie.
You get rid of Garoppolo, which you're going to do anyway. You let Trey Lance sit until camp comes, hope he's ready for camp, and see if he can compete, which he probably can't. You rely on Purdy to come through his injury and be ready to go, and then you draft the rookie to come up behind Purdy.
To come up behind Purdy.
Yes, Purdy's your starting quarterback.
So if Purdy goes down, our fate is in the hands of a rookie.
No, your fate is in the hands of Trey Lance, who you love.
Well, you just said to come in behind Purdy, so apparently you're thinking that he's going to be ahead of Trey Lance.
Because Trey Lance stinks.
Well, but just
you don't think he stinks.
I mean, if you don't think he's going to be there and be available in your theory, then the second guy up is the rookie. That's what you basically are saying.
Yes.
Okay? I'm saying no. So we will agree to disagree on that.
Okay, so when they do exactly what I said,
you'll get to gloat to your heart's content, which I know will make you so happy.
No, it won't, because I don't need to
Oh, yes,
gloat
it will.
because I already feel good about what I said. I already know.
You
It's no reason to gloat. I already know.
can't feel any better.
Nah, nah.
All right, Benny. Enough of that stuff. Let's go through some current events here. As we go to the Ben and Barry on football page, we talked about this a little bit. They called it the tush push. The Eagles are ridiculously successful. I believe they're like 80% on short downs or something like that with this thing, where everybody lines up behind the quarterback and basically pushes to get the 1 yard or so that they need. And Sean Payton, Ben, have you been listening to Sean Payton?
Not really. I heard what he said in reference to Russell Wilson and some of the shenanigans that he got away with this past season, and that stuff is not going to fly with him in charge. That's about it.
Well, first off, he is talking up a storm. Okay.
Great.
He's going stream of consciousness. Like he's at the combine and he's like, he'll stand there for 45 minutes. He's on podcasts. The thing that brought him to my attention specifically is what he said about short quarterbacks versus prototype quarterbacks.
Okay.
And what he said that was interesting is he said, within the first 15 picks of the draft, you need to stick to the prototype. That ain't the time to reach for some little guy, something like that. If your prototype is 6'3", 6'4", blah, 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 and this is the first 15, he said, then, you should be looking for the prototype. I thought that was interesting. And of course, he had Drew Brees, which was not the prototype. But Drew Brees, it's still considered the exception, to a large
degree. Yeah, but he didn't draft him.
He didn't draft him. No, he didn't. But he got him. So in any event, the tush push, they're looking to potentially outlaw it. And the reason I mentioned the coach is because he said, well, if they leave it in, I'm going to do it every time. So it's like, oh, y'all would have really make this into a rugby game? Okay, that's what we'll do,
I'm surprised more teams didn't.
Hey, look. And, it's funny also because there was a rule change that allowed that a number of years back. And so it's, you could say it's smart of their offensive coordinator to include that, have that in the offense since it's allowable. But one of the things that I saw in rewatching the Super Bowl was 2 times when the Eagles tried to catch Kansas City off guard by like doing the hurry up to the offensive line. And I kept wondering why, as they would hurry up to the offensive line, the ref would step in and pause them and hold them off.
Yes.
You saw that?
Yes.
You know why?
It was one of the things that people were saying the refs were cheating. Eagles fans were scratching and clawing, trying to find reasons why they lost and blame it on the refs. There is a rule that if you make a late substitution on offense, you have to wait for the defense to make a counter move. So you can't sneak guys on the field at the last minute and run a hurry up. That's a rule. And when they knew they were going to do this, what they would do is they would run an extra offensive lineman in. So then the defense is allowed to substitute.
Tried to be slick.
Yep.
But the refs knew the rule. Congratulations, you knew that rule very well. But a lot of people that, and I had to admit, I didn't know why. I had to look it up. You know what I mean? I'm like, why are they stopping them? But I wasn't seeing the substitution also. I was missing the substitution. So
here's the funny thing. I'm surprised that the Eagles thought they could get away with it.
But that's what my point was, that's where your offensive coordinator doesn't know the role. Or he was trying to be sneaky.
Trying to be sneaky. One of the two. Either he was trying to be sneaky and sneak them on, or he wasn't sure about the rule and thought he could get away with it.
That's.
But after you get caught once, guess what? Every short yardage situation, the ref is looking.
It happens more than once. I'm not sure if it was twice or three times, but it did happen more than once.
It was. I think it was like 3 times.
And the thing about it is this, man. The hurry up is designed to catch them off guard and out of position, first and foremost. Not to catch them in a weird personnel matchup, except for if you're like, let's say, for example, you get the ball down to the 1. Well, if you're in Madden and you get the ball down to the 1, you hurry it up. I don't care if you threw a 99-yard pass. You're running down there to catch because you don't want them to bring in their defensive goal line personnel. You know what I mean?
Right.
So you want to keep that. If they were in the nickel, that's the personnel that you want them lined up in.
Right.
And then you can bang it in there. So, the hurry up in and of itself, tactically, is a great thing. You don't necessarily need to try to sneak another man in.
You got to go with the personnel that's already on the field.
You got to go with that personnel, and then you wouldn't have had a problem. And I think it would have been effective. You know what I mean? I
believe so.
Yeah, I think so too.
So once again, Eagle fans, you shot yourselves in the foot. Stop looking for excuses.
All right.
We can go on and on about this. Some little kid said to me, he saw my Giants shirt. He said, "Oh, y'all," he said, "the Giants suck and the refs cheated the Eagles in the Super Bowl." I'm like, what? So like a little kid. I'm like, who told you that?
Same people that told them that the election was stolen. Wrong. Proved wrong. So the Bears are looking to move into the suburbs.
What? They're going to leave Soldier Field?
They bought Arlington Heights property and they get a step closer to moving into the suburbs.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Not Soldier Field. Soldier Field is that's like blowing up the vet.
The current city administration is about to change because Mayor Lightfoot apparently lost in a runoff and won't be able to run for mayor again. So they're going to get a new mayor, new administration. I don't know if that's going to be friendly or antagonistic to this situation, but it's a point to remember. And again, you have an opportunity to put a dome on that thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they will or they won't, but
yeah, they have these cold weather places take pride in that cold weather situation.
Yeah,
they won't take pride in me buying the ticket and being out there freezing and watching no games. No, that's for sure. So the United Flag Football League had a location change. Go to Ben & Barry on football. You can read all about it. Man, this flag is just so they're blowing this thing up. This for the NFL. The NFL is actually grabbing attention for flag football. It's like public relations. It's like growing their brand by connecting to the flag football community.
That's a good thing.
It's a smart thing for sure. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but it's a tackle football league. It is a tackle football league. So bring all your flag football people over here and enjoy. The young lady from the Mexican team, she's getting a lot of play. She's got her own commercial, and then she's got her own the making of the commercial. So yeah, they're getting a lot of play, man. So you're in the right sport there, mister, with your flag football stuff. Do you know anything about Thomas Brown, now the new offensive coordinator for the Panthers?
I do not.
Well, we'll look him up and talk about him in the new Brain Trust. But they got a new offensive coordinator in Carolina. Who's the new coach there? Is that in Carolina? Frank Reich.
Former Eagles assistant, former head coach for the Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich.
So Frank Reich then went out and got.
Frank Reich is another head coach that likes to call his own plays.
Thomas Brown as his offensive coordinator. All right. Well, we'll talk more about that when we do the series on brain trust. Ben, NFL to XFL. Anybody on this list that you want to mention real quick? Vic Beasley, AJ McCarron, Josh Gordon, Martavis Bryant, Brett Hundley, Paxton Lynch, Ben DiNucci, Matt Elam, Marquette King, Brad Wayne. I think if I were to say anybody, it'd be Marquette King, because I get the feeling he basically talked his way out of the NFL.
Yeah, Marquette King is a punter. So we're not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about Marquette King, except for the fact that he was very vocal, considering he was a punter. Punters, it's a wonder that they can speak at all. Okay, but this guy really pumped his own self up.
He was a pretty good punter.
He actually was a very good punter. This guy had skills.
Yeah.
But, there's a good chance that he may have said a little bit too much or said the wrong thing about the wrong person or the wrong team to get himself out of the NFL. But it's good to see that he's reemerged in the XFL. So that's a good thing. Matt Elam is also a place kicker who played in the NFL for the Ravens, and he was a long time Denver Bronco kicker. Ben DiNucci was a backup quarterback for the Cowboys who had maybe a couple of starts, maybe won a couple of games, maybe one game that I can think of off the top of my head. Paxton Lynch, obviously quarterback for the Broncos, was drafted fairly high, if I remember correctly, and never panned out at all. Brett Hundley, backup quarterback for the Packers, never panned out. Jordan Love will be coming in behind him pretty soon. Martavis Bryant, a really good receiver with really good size, speed, and skills that played for the Steelers. I do not know what happened to him. He had tremendous potential, and then all of a sudden he was gone. So I'm going to try to keep an eye on him when I watch the Vipers play. And could you scroll that down a little bit so I can see the top guy? Yes. We all know Josh Gordon. Josh Gordon is the number one weed head of all time in professional football. And he's played for several teams. Last team he played for was the Bengals. I'm sorry, I went ahead of myself, was the Browns. And I'll be keeping an eye on him. I think I saw the Sea Dragons play a week or two ago, and he caught a couple of balls. He looks like he's in good shape, but he's been around a long time. I would like to venture to guess that he's in his late 20s, darn near 30 years old, man. So he may have crapped away his prime years, but it's good to see he's at least still playing. AJ McCarron, good backup for the Bengals. I don't know how he lost his backup job. I remember him getting in and playing a little bit before they got Joe Burrow. And AJ McCarron looked like he was going to have a bit of a career, at least as a good backup. I don't know what happened. And Vic Beasley used to play for Falcons. Yeah, Vic Beasley was decent. I think he's a DB or a linebacker. I forget.
I had my note. Paxton Lynch stinks.
That pretty much sums it up for him.
He looked like a statue at the XFL level.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So, Brett Hundley, I I I liked Brett Hundley better than I like Jordan Love. I don't exactly know what happened to Brett Hundley. I thought he was going to stick around, but I think he might have been a casualty when they got Jordan Love. They expected a lot out of Jordan Love, and they made Brett Hundley an afterthought. So it's good to see him resurface. Hopefully, he'll do well.
All right, all right. All right. Well, we have a group that everybody can kind of, focus in on if you get a chance to watch some XFL football, the Vipers, the Battlehawks, the Sea Dragons, the Vipers. I saw the one game with the comeback, and it was one of those comebacks where they had the option to, instead of doing like an onside kick, they had a one shot to go 15 yards or something like that.
Basically, it's a 4th and 15.
4th and 15 setup.
Right.
And they got it.
Yeah.
They converted.
That's actually a pretty cool rule.
And then went on to win the game. As a matter of fact.
That's a pretty cool rule. I kind of like that rule.
Kind of like
I
that
also
rule.
like the rule that you can go for a 3-point conversion after a touchdown.
You know what my thought on that is, Ben?
What's that?
I know people think, okay, if I get closer, it's easier, right?
Right.
But I actually like the little space that you get from the 3-point line. And I think the right offense, you can capitalize on that thing. I'd rather have that little bit of space than.
Yeah, but the 3-point play, you have to run from the 10.
I know. That's what I'm saying. You got 10 yards, then you got the whole end zone. That's like 20-yard spacing.
It's a lot of room. You got a lot of options.
That's what I'm saying,
Yes. Yes.
You can single up somebody and,
Yep.
Now, of course, you might not run the ball, but then again, you might run screens, things of that nature. So, I like it. I like, that spacing, and I like that possibility. So XFL, not too bad. Not too bad. We'll have some fun with the XFL. All right, where are we at here? They say Hamlin faces a long recovery. He's not going to be probably ready for next year. He showed up at the Sixer game. Was he there when you were there?
Yeah, he was there. Yeah.
Okay. Let me see here. What was I showing here? January. Players to watch at the 2023 Combine. You want to talk about the Combine now? Or you want to talk about it a little bit later?
We can talk about Combine now. I mean, you got something specific? The only thing I got is, there's going to be some quarterbacks. There's a bunch of quarterbacks that have been rated pretty high. They're being touted as top 10 and definitely first round picks. Those quarterbacks are going to be scrutinized at this combine. And the one who's being touted as the number one guy is not going to throw at the combine. He'll be there. He's going to talk to coaches. He may run, but he's not going to throw.
That Bryce Young?
That would be Bryce Young, yes.
So what do you think about him relative to size?
Okay, let me put it to you this way. I got a top 5 here. I got a little help from Yahoo Sports, and I got little help from YouTube and some things that I read and some film study of my own on YouTube. I'm looking at Bryce Young, who is 6 feet tall, 194 pounds. And some people think that 194 pounds is being a little generous. Now, you just got finished saying what Sean Payton said about prototypical size, right? So not only are they looking at this guy as a first rounder, they're looking at him definitely being the number 1 quarterback gone and possibly being number 1 overall. 6 feet, 194, as opposed to my favorite in this class, CJ Stroud out of Ohio State, who's 6'3", 218 pounds. More of your prototypical kind of quarterback. Strong arm, very accurate, makes every throw, pretty nimble in the pocket. I wouldn't necessarily call him a pocket passer, but I wouldn't call him a dual threat also either. I'm sorry, I wouldn't call him a dual threat either. I believe that he has good footwork in the pocket, plays well out of the pocket, but has the ability to run if necessary. Will Levis is out of Kentucky, also 6'3", 231 pounds. Big, strong guy, okay? Comes out of Kentucky, quarterback-centric offense, same place Daniel Jones came from. I'm not comparing him to Daniel Jones. I'm just saying they have a quarterback-heavy coaching staff, so to speak. Again, more of a pocket guy. Also, now, these next two guys are kind of iffy. Some people love them. Some people hate them. You got Anthony Richardson out of Florida, and you got Hendon Hooker out of Tennessee. Hendon Hooker kind of came out of nowhere. Okay. Anthony Richardson is one of those guys that had like one really good year. So he doesn't have a lot of experience. He's not like the kid with Kenny Pickett with the Steelers now, who started all 4 years. He's not like that. He got hot, got in there last year, played great, and then jumps right to the draft. So again, all these guys, Richardson is 6'4", 231. Hooker is 6'4", 218. All those guys are far bigger than Bryce Young. The thing about Bryce Young is play for Alabama, play with a lot of really other talented players. And some people are throwing around comparisons to Patrick Mahomes. He's a winner. He has he has great spatial awareness, can get the ball and can throw off all the different platforms, that kind of talk. That's what's got, and mostly he's a winner, So it's going to be crazy. I know there are teams out there that are going to say, I don't know, this guy's kind of small if we draft him. If the guy's first pick overall, he's going to play. When they picked Trevor Lawrence, there was no thought of him sitting behind somebody. This guy's going to play. So if Bryce Young gets picked, he's the first quarterback taken, he's going to play. If he gets crushed out there or gets kicked around like Tua, teams are going to be very upset. But if you don't pick him and somebody else does, and he is Patrick Mahomes, then you look like an idiot. So that's quite a dilemma.
Patrick Mahomes is really not a skinny guy. He's not really.
No, not at all. I'm talking about the things he can do with the ball.
Okay. All right. I have to admit, I'm skeptical at this point. And I wonder why the Ohio State quarterback, C.J. Stroud, wasn't getting more conversation. And I'm getting the feeling like they feel like Bryce Young processes the defenses better. I think they're giving him that, which is what Mahomes can do. Mahomes has the ability to see and make adjustments, and
yes, his awareness is very high.
So I think that's where Bryce Young is getting the additional as far as having an additional asset that some of the other guys don't necessarily have. He's at a higher level. I think that's why they're talking about him as number one.
And that's great. That's fine. All I know is CJ Stroud has the size, the arm strength, the superior accuracy, and played in the Big Ten against top flight competition. He checks all the boxes for me, all of them.
However, What do we say about Ohio State quarterbacks?
Okay. What do we say about Penn State quarterbacks? Same thing.
Not a good history, right?
Right. Not good history, but Justin Fields is going to be a good quarterback. Justin Fields is going to have a long NFL career for somebody.
For somebody. Yeah, I'm glad you add that on here because you know they've been talking about Justin Fields, like they got that #1 pick, and they're like, we could get a quarterback. We could
but who are they going to take? Bryce Young?
Yeah.
If they run Bryce Young,
this is conjecture, Benny. I'm just telling you the conjecture in the media that came out.
That's goofy. I don't even know why they're talking like that. Again, like you said, all this stuff they talk about before the draft, most of it is lies. They're just putting that out there because they got teams salivating for that #1 pick because there's so many teams that are quarterback needy. That's all. So they're like, we're going to dangle the #1 pick for somebody who wants a quarterback, and we're going to dangle Justin Fields, who's shown tremendous potential. We're going to dangle both of them. Well, and see what let the offers come in.
We kind of agreed that Justin Fields, that there was a coaching deficit there as far as that's concerned, and also maybe some players away.
That's where that coaching deficit just went. That coaching deficit is now the new offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs. He won't hurt Andy though.
Well, because Andy is Andy. Because
Andy's the boss. Yeah,
Andy's the boss there. You know, these guys again, and the musical chairs where these guys go from one team to the other and all of that kind of stuff. You know, I thought
it's a subject. I'm sorry, that's subject for another day. Because they keep recycling these same dudes.
We were just talking about the Eagles making certain offensive mistakes, you know, misjudgments and stuff. And they brought in, who was it, Vic Fangio or somebody like that, on like a 10-day contract to help them because he was supposedly had all this knowledge about the Chiefs and he was going to help their defense or their offense. I think it's an offense. Something like that. Yeah.
I mean, Vic Fangio is a defensive guy.
Okay, well, it must have been for the defense then. Yeah. You know, what can I tell you? You know, they pulled out the stops. They gave it the shot. You know, but anywho, let's wrap it up here. Ben, franchise time frame is about on us. Do you franchise Lamar? And if you do, which tag do you use on him? Do you have thoughts on that?
Now, just what's the word they're using for the different tags? One is like
exclusive and non-exclusive.
Right. So the exclusive tag means tag, you're it. That's it. This is what we're going to pay you. You're our quarterback. Now, whether you show up and play or not, that's another deal. The non-exclusive one gives other teams an opportunity to still talk to you, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's no way the Ravens would do that. Because if they were willing to do that, you might as well trade him and get something for him. So if they're not going to trade him, they're not going to put the unexclusive, if that's the right word, tag. They'll give him the exclusive tag. They'll end up paying him somewhere close to $45 million for 1 year, which will put him amongst the top guys. Okay. And it gives them more time to try to negotiate the long-term contract. Now, whether or not he will show up and play is a whole nother story. Because he can still hold out.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing. He could still hold out. And there's been at least one mention in terms of how a lot of these teams are just not, they're sort of an inertia. Nobody's making a decision. Like nobody's jumped on Aaron Rodgers because he hasn't said what he's going to do yet. But they're all kind of waiting. Some people say they're actually still kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with Lamar. You know, he's probably the wild card in it. And then you've got, you know, Derek Carr, who nobody's beating themselves up to get Derek Carr right now. So
Well, the only reason the Jets haven't signed him immediately is because they're trying to hold out hope for Aaron Rodgers.
That's my whole point. Exactly.
If I was them, I'd take Derek Carr.
There was some conversation. Somebody said that Aaron Rodgers would not be good for the Jets.
I don't think so either.
We do have the combine invitees by school. That link is at Ben and Barry on football. We talked a little bit about the XFL, and I mentioned the plays that got I guess it was the Battlehawks that scored the 15 points, including the 4th and 15. We talked a little bit about that. Todd Monken. We were just talking about Lamar Jackson and the new offensive coordinator, Todd Monken. And one of the things that stood out about Todd is that they're saying he can coordinate almost any kind of offense. Like, he has a special flexibility. If they lose Lamar Jackson, other than who they will replace him with, the question of offensive coordinator, I think, is already answered in that he can run a more conventional offense, or he can continue the Lamar Jackson option-oriented offense. Like, he can go either way. So that's what kind of stood out from what I heard about Todd Monken, which is interesting.
He's not married to a particular offensive style.
Right.
Which is, and if in fact that is the case, and the fact that he's coming from the University of Georgia, which ran a very diversified offense, be it college, and won a national championship, I think they may have gotten the right guy. And if the plan is to continue to use Lamar as the dual threat that he is, except for to lean a little bit more on the passing side, not try to change him, but let him really get to throw the ball a little bit more. I think that's what they're looking for, especially after these injuries, Well,
they're definitely looking for him to, become more of a passing threat. No doubt about it. No matter which offense they go with.
Right. The stumbling block there is there's rumors out that no receivers want to go to the Ravens because they run the ball so much. They don't think they're going to be able to shine. So that's why they can't get a top flight receiver.
Could be. All right. So maybe Todd Monken can help them with that by providing a more diverse, a stronger pass game in whatever they decide to do. You don't have to give up that option. You don't have to give up the run. You know me, I'm about.
No, you never give it up. You can't give it up with a guy like Lamar Jackson.
But I'm more like, you run the ball when it's advantageous. You don't do a lot of design runs. You're not treating him like a running back per se. But if you need him to do it, he can do it at a whole nother level. All right. You mentioned the USFL college draft. Didn't you say you saw something that stood out to you?
Yeah, it jumped out at me. In fact, that's why I asked you if you saw anything that caught your eye. You said no. This was glaring to me, but I don't, I look at stuff a little bit different. So listen to this. And you might find this interesting, or you may not find it interesting. Most people probably could give a damn about this, okay? But the Philadelphia Stars, their first round pick was an offensive tackle. Their second round pick was an offensive tackle. Their third round pick was an offensive tackle. Their fourth round pick was a DN. Their fifth round pick was an offensive tackle. Their sixth round pick was a DN. Their seventh round pick was an offensive tackle. Then they took a D lineman, a cornerback, and a linebacker. So do you think the Philadelphia Stars filled a need? I would say they were very focused on what they felt like they needed.
That is interesting. That is very interesting. And who is there? Do you know it? Do you know the Stars personnel now? Who they're bringing into? It's back from last year because they played last year.
Yeah, they were in the championship.
They won the championship. They had a good quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're doing what I said my Niners need to do. Go get yourself plenty of linemen.
They got a ton of them.
I guess they figured that tackles can play guard too. So let's just get the
Some of those guys probably can play guard. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe one or two of them can play center too. You know, these colleges are doing a really good job of being real diverse with their linemen. They try to get guys to be able to play multiple positions so you can put the biggest, strongest person, and if they have the versatility, you can really make your line really massive. If you can get a guy who ordinarily size-wise would be a no tackle, but has the foot speed and the agility to play guard. Kind of like the Eagles.
Okay.
That's the kind of offensive line the Eagles had.
Now, my question is this. This was a draft, right?
Yes.
So who are they drafting? I mean, are they drafting out of, D2 colleges or
no? Most of these guys are D1 guys that and some of them have some credentials. Okay. I have a feeling that they're picking guys who just have not been projected as NFL prospects. These guys are right on the edge of being NFL prospects. Guys that probably might be picked late in the NFL draft, if at all, or guys that probably would end up being undrafted free agents. Those are the kind of guys they're going after.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to take a closer look at that. That is very interesting to me. Yeah, I'm nerdy like that. What can I tell you? When I saw that the headline said B. Mitch was fired up after Eric Bieniemy's Commanders press conference, I'm like, me? B. Mitch was,
I don't remember being fired up about that.
I was questioning whether he should do it or not. I was like, they're quoting us again.
I'm happy for him. I loved his introductory press conference. I think he was very assertive and very sure of himself. He came off with a really strong personality because we never get to see this guy talk, and he seemed to be very happy with his choice. And I have to say, the only way he should have stayed with the Kansas City Chiefs, and I'm hoping that he spoke to the front office about this, would be if they delegated him to be Andy Reid's successor. If they could not, if I'm him and they can't tell me that, I'm gone.
I agree with you. And the head coach here,
Ron Rivera.
I've never really been a fan of his offenses. So it's going to be very interesting, to see. Hopefully he has a hands-off situation and we can see the enemy, as an independent offensive.
Oh, he's a defensive guy.
Yeah. I've never been, I always thought he was kind of not a good his offenses left a lot to be desired and left a lot on Cam Newton, to pull him out to make him look good. But long story short,
he got a lot of talent.
It's going to be interesting to see what he does with Scary Terry.
Got a lot of talent, man. They got a lot of talent.
So yeah, he got some talent there, no doubt about it. All right. We talked shortly about the Black College Football Hall of Fame and the Legacy Bowl. I think the one thing that stood out to me is that everybody liked the wide receiver from Florida A&M.
Yeah.
And he was another size question, though. He's supposedly a small guy. Kind of like, was it Devontae, or what's the name for the Eagles? Their wide receiver.
Devontae Smith.
Devontae Smith, yeah. So anything on this real quick?
I'm just very happy that the HBCUs are getting a lot more attention. You informed me that they had an HBCU combine for coaches to go to see some guys that wouldn't get invited to the regular combine, give them a chance to show off their skills and go through the whole combine process and possibly set up some pro days for themselves. I think that's great. There's a lot of hidden talent out there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about Bucky Brooks. What's the other guy that's with him?
Charles Davis.
Huh?
Charles Davis.
Charles Davis is another guy. There's one other guy with the freckles. He's the black guy with the freckles. And he's there all the time also. His name will pop up with me later. But congratulations for those guys. This looks like something that's really good. And you know something, Ben? I wanna click on this for a second, because if I remember correctly, they named a lot of the institutions that were involved with this. I think it's at the website. So I'm at the website for the HBCU Web Legacy Bowl, and as you scroll down and look at it, that's what I wanted to show. Can you see this?
Yes.
Founding partners.
Yes.
These are all teams and companies set right in the middle of the second line.
Patrick Mahomes. Wow.
He got as much money as all of them guys.
Wow.
Home Depot, Coca-Cola. He's on that level. State Farm. There's State Farm, and then there's Patrick Mahomes.
That's pretty cool, man.
Is that not crazy? I thought that was so cool, man. I had to take a look at it. Now, on your participating partners,
Jameis Winston, Bobby Wagner, Teron Armstead.
And Teron Armstead, yes.
Cool.
Yes. So, I want to give some kudos to these individuals. Of course, we should be giving kudos to the companies, also that you can see here. But when you look and see an individual name there up there with those companies, I just thought that was intriguing. Very good.
Yeah.
So no doubt about that. All right, there you go with that. I do want to mention a couple releases.
Oh, yeah.
Carson Wentz and Marcus Mariota, both released.
Yep.
What's going on? I mean, these are two guys that, had a lot of promise at one time.
Well, Marcus Mariota probably missed his chance when the Eagles had Chip Kelly as a coach, and he wasn't able to draft Mariota. That would have been the perfect fit. Mariota straight out of college into Chip Kelly's offense would have been the perfect fit. That didn't happen. He's never been able to get a foothold anywhere. Carson Wentz's best season was probably his rookie year. He gets hurt. Team goes and wins the Super Bowl. He hasn't done anything since. Injury marred career. This dude might be done soon. He may turn up somewhere, probably turn up somewhere this upcoming season, but his days are numbered, if you ask me.
Could this be two guys now competing for those backup quarterback, the best job in the NFL?
I'm sure I think Mariota probably would be content being a backup quarterback. I don't know about Wentz.
Yeah, Wentz is going to have to make up his mind because,
That's why I said his days are numbered.
The legal tampering window for NFL free agency starts March 13th, and the new league year begins March 15th, Benny. So we will see something popping on the free agency they like to wait till the very last moment. You know what I mean?
Yes.
11:59, March 12th, or something like that. And then say what they want to do, and then everybody's in a big rush. But I just thought I'd put that out there for good. We talked about the NFL, the ranking differentials here. You know anything about Georgia's Jalen Carter? They've got an arrest warrant out for this young man now. He's
Evidently,
at the
he was racing with somebody. He had another player and a coach in the car with him, I believe, or they were in the other car that they were racing. There was a crash. I'm not sure if it was his car that actually crashed or the car that they were racing, but supposedly they were doing upwards of 104, 105 miles per hour, and it was a bad accident. 2 people got killed. So he's got a trial coming up very soon. I heard a statement from him today that he claimed or said that he expects to be completely exonerated from any criminal, wrongdoing or anything like that, and that he's going to be okay. But I don't believe he'll be at the combine.
Well, he was at the combine and he had to leave.
Yeah. Right. So he won't be able to. He won't be
being served. He had to leave.
Yeah.
Wanted to mention this is very questionable to me. The Cleveland Brown owners agreed to purchase a stake in the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm like,
why is that questionable?
Because it's the Browns owners. These are the guys that just gave Deshaun Watson ridiculous money, screwed up the whole. He got Lamar Jackson can't even sign a contract because he keeps looking at Deshaun's contract, and the Cleveland Browns haven't won anything, and I don't know if they bring the necessary winning, ownership mindsets with them to the Milwaukee Bucks, who are looking for, was it a repeat? Did they win last year or the year before last? But they're playing
a couple years ago.
They're playing championship level basketball right now. So I don't know. That's just a weird ownership thing to me. What do you think?
I don't know. I don't think it's a minority share. I mean, a majority share.
No, it's a minority. It's
a minority. Okay, so they can't do but so much harm. They're in it for the money.
Okay. All right. Can't do but so much harm. That's one way to look at it. All right. Well, I think that's about it, Benny. As we say here.
Well,
thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our hashtag is football is life. You can find us at www.benandbarry on football. And then any last or any final comments here?
I thought I had a rant, but now I can't remember what the heck it was. It probably had something to do with some of the couple of things that I said about some of these Eagle fans and these crazy excuses they're making for losing the Super Bowl. They really need to let it go. Y'all really need to just let it go, man, because plain and simple, you got outcoached, you got outplayed. Your defense couldn't get off the field in the second half. Gardner Johnson, the safety, who you're in danger of losing if you don't get your money right. I'm sure Howie will take care of it, though. Already cracked on Gannon, who took the Cardinals head coaching job. He was the DC here. Said he didn't make the necessary adjustments to help them be in position to stop Kansas City. So evidently the players had some ideas on some things that they could have done, but the defensive coordinator did not make those calls, kind of left them hanging out to dry in the defense they were in, and Kansas City had their way with them in the second half, which we could all see. Why people keep talking about referees and stuff, I have no idea. Well, I do have an idea, but unfortunately, it has a lot more to do with people not understanding the rules of the NFL as opposed to, just rooting for your team to win, and everything that goes wrong, you blame it on somebody else. So, you kind of got to stop doing that, folks. Really. Study up, look at the rules, watch some other games, take a look at some other teams besides your team, and maybe you'll understand NFL football a little bit better. That's it. That's all I got.
Well, go ahead. What are you going to say? You got it?
That's all I got. I'm
Sorry.
mad at them right now.
Oh my goodness. I'm going to say it for you.
Why?
Go Noles.